People need to see also the positive side of each culture, and especially Palestinian. The food culture is quite important because literally we've been raised.
When people say Middle Eastern food, how does that land with you?
Well, it's like saying Asian food. Middle East is kind of big. It's a European name. It's a quite modern name. Foraging is a big thing in Palestine and also in part of Lebanon. The new generation, they're going to lose the knowledge over the time.
Welcome to In Good Taste, the podcast on food matters for food lovers. I'm Malika Basu, food writer, commentator, and advisor. And each week we bring you half an hour episodes that are short and sharp that will change the way you eat and look at food. Now, today I've got none other than Sami Tamimi, co-founder of the Ottolenghi group. Now, Sami already co-wrote 2 cookbooks, but his latest cookbook is an ode to Palestinian food. It's vegetarian, and the timing couldn't be more perfect as we edge closer to plant-based eating, but also given what's happening in Palestine right now. So I got Sami to tell me a little bit more about the key ingredients, flavors, and style of Palestinian cooking, and also what talking about this and writing about this means for him at the moment. Well, hello, Sami.
Hello, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
So, look, thank you so much for joining us to talk about, well, Middle Eastern food broadly, but we're really going to focus on Palestinian food because I feel like your last cookbook just hit the perfect timing when we're all really desperate to understand better.
I mean, it came in a horrific time, but I'm glad it came out. At the beginning, I was like, oh, it's too kind of positive, but people need to see also the positive side of each culture, and especially Palestinian. The food culture is quite important because literally we've been raised. And it's really important to talk about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start a bit broader, and I'd love to hear what you think when people say Middle Eastern food. How does that land with you, and what does it miss?
Well, it's like saying Asian food. I mean, it's like half of the continent. It's a vast part of the world. Middle East is kind of big. Middle East has also been used by, it's a European name. It's a quite modern name. It's something that kind of hide really what, each kind of region or each country have in terms of dishes, culture, food, heritage. Sadly, Israelis use it quite a lot. I mean, they now call it sub-Mediterranean or other kind of names to kind of avoid being, clashing with customers. But also, I feel like Europeans use it quite a lot because they don't really have the full understanding of what really Middle Eastern food is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned Europe because, the term actually has quite Eurocentric history from the British Empire, isn't it? It was actually a
Exactly.
military term that we're still using, which feels so dated, especially because we know so much more now about all the cuisines and the differences. I mean, you're a chef. There must be so many subtle differences in the ingredients, the techniques, the rituals that get misunderstood or overlooked, right?
And looked over quite often. And people really nowadays want to zoom into when you talk about the region, where is in the region, where exactly are you writing about? And when you talk about Palestine, which I've been doing now for a few years, it's really interesting because first of all, there is information there. It just need to be researched and written, and the recipes are based on traditional recipes, and okay, they are similar to Lebanese and Syrian, but once it used to be a whole region which all joined, and thanks to the British and the French, by dividing the whole region into countries, but they shared quite a lot. And I mean, with the Palestinian, I can talk about it more, is is a much more robust food than Lebanese, for example. It's very connected to the land, to farming, to season, to the foraging. Foraging is a big thing in Palestine and also in part of Lebanon. And this is something that kind of engraved into the culture. You know, the people live, we call also mune. I'm just jumping from one thing to another. Mune means pantry, and they plan the mune around the seasons and around, what's really available and what they can forage and pick from the land and the reason for it is seasons and summer especially is so short. Everything ripen at in a short like few weeks and it's gone. So for them to be able to have it for the rest of the year, they find all these ingenious ways to keep it lasting for the rest of the year, from pickling to drying to fermenting to now there's also freezer comes quite handy. And it's also part of hosting and having people around. When you have 10 people in, you do your best to cook for them as many dishes as possible, but the pantry come also handy because there's a bit of pickle, a bit of olives, a bit of cheese, a bit of something that kind of come out of the freezer. And this is part of the whole kind of the culture that's really rooted into the land, but also to be able to do that over centuries and kind of I find it is so fascinating the more you talk about it. And these are things that in Palestine are kind of getting lost because people been displaced and they can't really get to the hills or to the lands or they can't go out foraging. And the new generation, I talk to my siblings about it a lot. The new generation, they're going to lose the knowledge over the time. And hopefully, people like me who write about it and document it, the information will be there. But it's really sad to think that people can just only read about it instead of experience it.
I have to show your book, sorry, because it's just beautiful. I don't eat only vegetarian food happily, by the way, but I love your cookbook. So this is a very good sign. Yes. No, but it's interesting because you talk about farming and foraging quite early on in the book. And this point about connection to land is quite important, isn't it? Because farming is the source of food and the production of food is what binds us to land. And actually, in the case of Palestine, that's even more poignant because, of course, there's this displacement. So it feels almost doubly sad that that is happening to the next generation.
The majority of Palestinians are naturally farmers, and if they don't have a piece of land, they have a little bustan, which is why I called my book Bustani. And they will always grow things, and a lot of people live off the land. This is their income. We're dealing with, I went a few times back when I was researching Bustani, people living from the olive harvest, from the olives, from the almonds, from the dates that they grow. And it's important to also acknowledge that as well.
And it's interesting, the Mune. So the Bustan is garden, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, Mune is the pantry. I'm speaking the language now. This is all happening.
Yes, of course.
With the garden and the pantry, I was thinking about how you would describe Palestinian food to someone who doesn't know. So obviously we've got the farming, we've got the foraging, you've got the seasonality, which is quite closely linked. Lots of salads I noticed as well, lots of sort of green things and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and lots of humble dishes from, like just sauteed courgette with tomato and bit of garlic and onion, and lots of olive oil, and just a piece of bread, and you just kind of dip it and eat it. We call it tarmis, which is like, just kind of what the Italian have as kind of, but Indian also have it with all the parathas and all the naan. And Palestinian food is not dissimilar. I mean, because of the geographic, the whole region been kind of going through quite a lot of changes, new idea, new ingredients, vegetables that kind of came from different parts of the world. But it had also a lot of their indigenous kind of variety of everything from wheat to sesame seeds to vegetables and greens. It is similar in a way to Lebanese, but it's a little bit more robust, a lot more kind of fragrant. And it's what I really like about the Palestinian is they make a dish from nothing, like stale bread, and they turn it into something wonderful. pate or different type of kind of soupy, uh, bready things, which, they don't like to waste anything, and they just try to turn things around to make it interesting enough so you don't feel like you're eating stale bread, really.
Ah, which is the way to be, right? We're all talking about food waste now. But what is food waste?
Yeah, a lot of olive oil, lots and lots of olive oil, lots of use of date. I mean, all they use date instead of sugar to sweeten sweets and different cookies and stuff like that. And greens, a lot of greens, which is, they are available everywhere. And they, over the centuries, they kind of know which one to pick and which one not to pick. And it's really exciting.
I mean, it sounds and looks amazing. You can almost smell it off the pages. So we have to talk about za'atar, obviously, because it feels like it's had a real moment globally, hasn't it? And I love it. I love it just sprinkled on stuff, mixed in olive oil, put on like everything. It's great on omelette randomly. But the word za'atar means oregano and it also means the blend. Is that right?
It's one type of oregano. There's lots of different kind of species of oregano. We're talking about the wild oregano, and nowadays they cultivate it as well. There are two things. Yeah, one is the fresh, and you can also actually buy it fresh and then dry it yourself. They pick the leaf and dry them, and you can actually add them to the breads or the salads, or you can just kind of dehydrate them. And the blend, which is always has toasted sesame seed, a bit of salt, and sumac. And this is used as a dip, but also seasoning. I use it in so many ways, from roasting chicken with it to just sprinkle on labneh, or my favorite is fried eggs with za'atar. And yeah, za'atar mix, nothing else should be added to it. I mean, you see wheat, cumin, coriander, all sort of stuff added to it. Sometimes they add a bit of olive oil to make it slightly greener and moister so it doesn't get dry, which is fine. But apart from that, you should avoid citric acid and all sort of stuff that get added to.
You know why they do that, though, don't you, Sami? Because it's bulkers and fillers, right? It makes the blend cheaper because you
Yeah.
have less of the expensive herbs and you fill it with cheap
Yeah.
ingredients.
I know, I mean, with these things, because it's such a simple thing, always buy it from a good source. People in the UK like Zaytoon, they have the best za'atar, and it's widely available everywhere. The supermarket stuff is not really good because it's not even za'atar.
Okay, supermarkets, if you're listening, this is only Sam is only joking. But generally, I'm a bit of a spice snob. I would not buy seasoning or spices like that are cheap and everywhere. I would.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm in Acton. There's quite a lot of Arabs and Afghan, and I just go there and buy my stuff there.
Well, it's the right way to do it because why would you spend all this time cooking and or eating out and, spending money on nice ingredients and then finish it with a terrible spice blend or a terrible seasoning? It's like the ultimate anticlimax, isn't it? So what's the point of that?
And also, it never feels the same. It's also fresher. It just feels like it's the right thing to do.
Tell me if there's any other blend like that or a seasoning that has not quite has it had its moment yet
I
that
mean,
we should know about.
kind of. I'm just trying to think of any. I introduced cookies baharat in Bustani because again, it's something that people do at home. It's like the savory baharat, and each household does it kind of slightly different, but the main ingredients in it is like aniseed and cardamom. And it's really lovely to bake with it. It's a bit like the Italian cookies that have a lot of aniseed. They
They
add
have
it
fennel, don't they?
yeah, it's really, really fragrant, and there's ton of savory into it, but totally sweet smell. And you bake with it, and it fills the whole house with this kind of aniseedy smell, which is really delicious. There aren't really any kind of spices that I think. I mean, I introduced in Palestine also red pepper paste, which is used also as a base for lots of vegetable stews and salads as well. It's really nice with eggs as well, and it's sometimes it's used as tomato paste, But think like the tomatoes are really sun-dried and steeped in olive oil, and it has a lot more flavor than just tomato paste.
That sounds fascinating. So I've never actually made baharat at home, so I might try that because it sounds like it's got quite a lot of uses there. Has your cooking evolved quite significantly since your early days with Ottolenghi? 'Cause I'm old enough to remember when you first opened in Notting Hill. Would you believe it? I think it was 2002, 2003, something like that.
Yeah.
Wow,
2002.
gosh.
Evolve in a way that because of the writing that I do lately, it goes backwards in a way because I'm researching a lot of traditional. My food was always kind of on the border of using a traditional recipe with something that you kind of spin it out. And but now I feel like I need to go back to the source of everything and kind of research it a little bit more, and the food is or the cooking kind of evolved from that. With when you write a cookbook about a subject like Bustani, which is it's a lot about childhood memories and my family and my grandfather's orchard and garden and all that, you have to base it on traditional recipes because I touched on the foraging a lot at the beginning. A lot of the dishes are kind of inspired by these really humble little kind of simple dishes, but of course you can't write a whole cookbook about greens. So this is where I start to kind of layer things up to make it interesting enough. So it's 100 and something recipes in one big cookbook, and you need to make it interesting enough. And also, it was my first solo cookbook, and the expectation of people and myself from writing the first cookbook on my own is like off the roof.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bustani is doing really well. I did the right thing, and I did a good job with it. And I'm really, really happy with the perception and people cooking from it and the feedback that I get, which is really nice. And it's a good way to learn about Palestinian the culture, the whole kind of. I mean, especially nowadays, you just hear people getting killed, people killing, but it's also nice to stop for a minute and read about other aspects of the Palestinian life.
Very much so. And I would agree with you and all your readers so far that it's a fantastic cookbook. And, I've bookmarked other recipes to try as well, which I will be doing now that we've spoken. The one I did try and I did cook already is shaktura. It felt very close to an Indian khichdi, which is rice and lentils as well.
Yeah.
And of course, there was the addition of greens, which felt like a very clever one pot meal. So you get everything in there. You've got the protein, you've got the greens, the veg, very lightly seasoned. And the teens, I have two teenagers, and it's quite tricky to feed them, but they loved it.
This is my job then done really well because I've heard it already a few times. People saying my kids don't eat any greens, but they eat that. So it's kind of.
Isn't it funny? Because
Yeah.
of the way it looks and the way it's done. So that's a really fantastic recipe. I wondered if there was a story behind it. Is there like something?
I mean, with the shahtura, it's a kind of again doing something out of nothing. Like old rice, they kind of cook it and add lentils to it because lentils are always available. And I think it's a really kind of nice way to present it. There's the salsa that goes on top, which makes it a little bit kind of more special. Most of these recipes have kind of been invented out of nothing. Uh, this is the beauty of it, I think. I remember when we were kids, I was just sitting on the floor, just having this bowl of rice, and I used to think it's such a beautiful color. I was happy to have this yellow rice, lentils with all the greens on it, and my mom always put a dollop of yogurt as well on
Oh,
top.
did she as well? Because we have khichdi with yogurt as well. So I was
Yeah, but
impressed.
I mean, you say the Indian food is quite Palestinian also food influenced, but some of the dishes are influenced by the Indian. I mean, Arabs kind of trade and come into Palestine, which was a port. A lot of these ingredients and ways of cooking came also to the Palestine.
But also clever for using any greens because I know that you can use spinach, but if you have any other greens like spring greens, kale, you can just
Yeah,
chuck it in, can't
I,
you?
the other day I was picking nettle from the garden next to us, and I just you can easily put it in there.
Right. Okay. Well, so are there any other recipes like that that readers have really liked so I can bookmark them for later, like two or three others that are really popular from the book?
There's also fatitadas, which is lentils with bread, which is I mentioned earlier. It's like making a lentil soup and then you add stale bread to it and has a kind of a spicy green chili and lemon salsa that goes on top.
I did notice that there was no hummus recipe in the book. Why?
My last books I did hummus in them, and I think people that have been following me, they can make it already without a book, but they can also go back to the old books and make it. And I wanted to kind of see it beyond, the falafel and hummus. I wanted to do something that people are not really exposed to. I mean, almost at the moment, even here in the UK, it's just been so overused in a way that, you see it everywhere and it becomes a kind of everyday food. And there are plenty of recipes for hummus as well.
Is there a secret to great hummus just before we move on from hummus?
A good Lebanese tahini, if you can get the Palestinian, of course, and you need to pre-soak and pre-cook the chickpea. Really good tahini. I put 2 or 3 cubes of ice when I blend it. It keeps it really kind of fluffy and white, and it doesn't heat. Sometimes when you add tahini to things, it splits.
So, just, in terms of the timing of what's happening right now, like, how do you feel about this whole idea of, talking about Palestinian food on a global stage? There's the cultural preservation bit, there's a resistance bit. I mean, what's it been like for you personally, this whole journey?
It's been an eye opener as well, but also I don't want to use the word enjoy, but I get quite a lot of comfort from talking about it because, look, I'm a privileged person. I have a platform. I write cookbooks, people buy them and cook from them and read the books. And this is something that we shouldn't kind of take for guarantee. And the fact that I feel like I'm contributing to highlight and talk about the Palestinian that I remember and I know that it's not true what other kind of sources say is it's a good thing, and we just need more voices to talk about it. With the war for the last 2 3 years, flip the coin and people see what's right and what's wrong, and it's not, I mean, sadly a lot of people died, but at the same time it opened the world's eyes. And I'll just continue. This is what I do. Food is my kind of language, and I write about it, but talk about it. And people connect with me because food is a language that we all understand. We all eat and feed and cook and share. And I can talk about a lot of other things related to Palestine and Palestinians, the culture and the way it used to be, and the struggles as well through my recipes.
And it feels more important than ever. So I think, I describe it as food as the ultimate unifier and leveler. It brings people together, doesn't it? So
Yeah, totally. But also at the same time, it's really wonderful to see people cooking Palestinian recipes at home and sending me pictures, and they want to know more about it, so they ask a lot more questions and they read more, and it's really, really important. It's really important.
I have to say that I also really enjoy your Substack newsletter. I think that's a really, it feels like a slower place to be compared to some of the other social media. So it's a nice way to kind of connect more deeply with your recipe. So whoever's listening and watching, I think definitely go find Sami's newsletter because there's some good inspiration in there as well.
Yeah, I really liked Substack because I remember the old days. Instagram used to be like this. You just post a picture and you talk about something. Where now it's just like too much noise and people say all the wrong things. And with Substack, you just kind of pause and you kind of take a breathe in and just write. And I enjoy the writing, and I think recipes are important as well, but it just connects you with different people that are like-minded.
Sami, excellent work on your first solo cookbook. And I hope
Thank
there's
you.
many more in the pipeline.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing the picture of your cooking.
And thank you for making the time to do this. It's been really lovely to chat with you.
Lovely
So,
to
all my
have
very
to talk to you, and thank you for having me.
Now, I hope you enjoyed that. Wasn't he just great? If you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about it, and also see you here for the next episode. Bye.